it's really only been over the last decade that this has really become more prevalent in being looked at in especially nursing overall education, looking at it to promote like adaptive functioning and resilience in stressful situations. And one of the research reviews I did, there were around 57 reviews out there or research or articles talking about this and the importance of bringing it into nursing education and what kind of difference could this really make. If you think about it, if it's about promoting adaptive functioning and resilience, and we think about what do we need our candidates who then become our students or our residents that are coming into our programs and wanting to be nurse anesthetists, isn't that what it's about? Adaptive functioning. How do you acclimate yourself into a very stressful environment? How do you become resilient?
Well, hello, future CRNA. I have some exciting news to share with you today. We have just released the Nurse Anesthesia Educators Unplugged, which is going to be your gateway to success. I want you to discover the inside scoop. I want you to be able to navigate the complexities of CRNA admissions and thrive as a candidate and as a nurse anesthesia resident, which can seem like a really daunting task. But what if you had a trusted guide at your fingertips? Which is why we're excited to introduce the Nurse Anesthesia Educators Unplugged, which is CSPA's private podcast, your one-stop auditory guide to achieving your CRNA dreams. The key benefits and features of this private podcast will be hearing directly from the experts, listen to seasoned CRNA faculty members who know the admissions process inside and out, get invaluable insights not found in brochures or websites. You're going to hear from behind the scenes and discover the lesser known details of the selection process, traits that faculty look for in candidates, and the hidden pitfalls to avoid. Also, knowing that all schools are a little unique, and this is going to give you that invaluable insight that's going to allow you to see the differences between different CRNA programs and the faculty that run these programs. You're going to hear real stories, hear from successful students who have been in your shoes, learn about their challenges and strategies and what made them stand out. You're going to get strategic advice. So beyond grades, how can you learn to craft a compelling application, such as for your essay or your interview responses that really will resonate with the admissions teams? You're also going to get flexible learning. You can listen to this podcast on your commute, during your workouts, or even while cooking. So we want this learning to fit your schedule. You're going to hear a lot of Q&As on these podcasts. These questions and answers are found in our private CSPA community. So again, we pick questions that are commonly asked from CSPA students, and we bring them to the table during this faculty podcast. So it's a great way to hear commonly asked questions from a variety of faculty and different insights on that. We also want you to stay up to date. The admissions landscape is always changing, so we want to make sure that you're updated on the latest trends and requirements and strategies for success. And then last but not least, we want to help you build confidence. Knowing what to expect and how to prepare can dramatically increase your confidence, giving you the edge during the application interview process. So I hope this sounds exciting to you. I hope you're as pumped as I am to tune into these shows. And remember, if you're a CSPA student, you're going to have access to this private podcast. But don't worry, we want to make sure we're not excluding anyone from this podcast. And so on occasion, we're going to share sneak peeks with you, our regular CSPA listeners, because again, I want everyone to succeed. And whether you're a CSP member for 12 months or for a short period of time, if you are a member, you're going to have access to the entire library of private CSPA faculty podcasts. So again, this is a really valuable resource that we are excited to bring to you today. And I want to just leave you with the conclusion that whether or not you're contemplating CRNA career or you're already deep in the application process, this Nurse Anesthesia Educators Unplugged is your secret weapon to equip yourself with the knowledge, strategies, and confidence to stand out. So I hope you enjoy the sneak peek. Let's go ahead and get into today's episode.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of our podcast, Nurse Anesthesia Educators Unplugged. We're excited to be here today, and we're going to be talking about a topic that really has become popular, I think, at least in my experience over the last several years. It is really ballooned as we think about it, and that's emotional intelligence. And today we've got our guest, Dr. Dawn AuBuchon. She is with South College. And then many of you know her as also one of our expert consultants and holding office hours and all with our guaranteed program in CRNA School Prep Academy. And so we're going to look at emotional intelligence. Do I have it? That's going to be our topic for today. And so we want to thank Dr. AuBuchon for coming on today. So Dr. AuBuchon, thank you for taking your time and being with us.
You're welcome, Dr. Wilson. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm very excited to be here. And it's one of the topics that I absolutely love talking about with anyone who's willing to listen to me talk about it. So thank you.
Well, I know our community is going to really want to listen because it really has become over the years one of those topics that when I look and think about it over the 13 years or so I've been in education, we kind of talked about it. We kind of asked questions about it, but it really was never defined as emotional intelligence, or those phrase was never put around those type of questions in that thought process. So I know Daniel Goleman, is the father of emotional intelligence, but when you talk about EI, really, what is the definition of EI?
So I like that question. And when you do go back and you look in the early 90s about EI, you'll find a variety of definitions. And so I like that you said that, because one of the things that is still currently trying to be established is what is the solid uniform definition of EI, because there is not one set definition really out there. So I look it up, and when I wrote about it and have presented on it, it really is and does wrap around other definitions out there. It's awareness, and it's awareness and control and the ability to express emotion. How do I express myself? How do I interpret how you express yourself? How do we relate and interact together? Which that leads into handling interpersonal relationships and being sensible and having empathy. So everything that I've read about it and seen defined about it is really centered on that aspect. And it's really just about what terminology is used to define it. So, but there's many interesting paths it's gone down. So I look forward to talking to you about that, because you're right, it has ballooned. And this was not something that was really used in the field that's very important to have emotional intelligence in. I mean, when you look way back and you look at how it was first established, it was human resource departments or managers, big offices and companies were using emotional intelligence and doing those types of platforms to assess candidates to try to get the best fit. And then how are they going to interact then with members of the team, with perhaps maybe customers? And when you really dig into it, how did we not have this in nursing? And that is what I find interesting, because when you do look back at it, and so some of the things I've done is I've asked candidates, and any part of our CSPA forum that I've been a part of or in office hours, I've said, so when you were in nursing school, did you ever talk about emotional intelligence? Did anybody ever come in, talk with you? Did you take any tests, read any books on it? Many say no. I have had very, very few tell me, oh yeah, I think we had like an hour guest lecture on it, but that's really it. I've gone into our high schools here locally to talk about it. Not many at all have heard about it. So why not? How do we get it out there?
Hey there, future CRNA, another dose of daily inspiration along your CRNA journey. So I'm highlighting another community member's success story today. This one is big shout out to Melissa. Congratulations on your acceptance, and thank you so very much for sharing your journey. I found out yesterday that I was accepted into the CRNA program at, and again, I keep this confidential, class of 2026. I truly could not have done it without the help of Jenny Fennell, Richard Wilson, and CRNA School Prep Academy. They have all proven to be invaluable and will forever be grateful for all the resources and countless hours listening to Jenny and Richard. I'm a part of the low science GPA club, so I didn't think I had a chance of getting in on the first try and doubted myself many times. For anyone applying or thinking about it in the future, believe in yourself and don't give up. And most importantly, join CRNA School Prep Academy. Thank you, Melissa. You're so sweet. And I'm so incredibly proud of you. I wanted to highlight that Melissa didn't have the strongest GPA. She said she was part of the low science GPA club, but she still got in on the first try. So I know I preach that a lot, is to look at your science GPA. However, there are a lot of things you can do to boost your science GPA and prove to these schools that currently you are able to do a graduate level science course and do it successfully, like taking an advanced pathophysiology course, for example. So again, don't let something like fear of having a less than competitive GPA hold you back from applying, because you never know. And really the only way, you guys, to kind of figure out this journey is to just start taking action. So rewards come to action takers. Whether you fail or succeed, either way, you're going to know how to move forward. Okay, so I hope that's a big takeaway for today's episode. And let's get back into today's show.
This is something now national. This is not just a corporation. This is not something that's just looks like it's going to be a leadership fad and then move on. This looks like something that's going to last.
Mm-hmm. So I agree. And I think when people looked at it or how they understood it, I don't know that there was such a good understanding of how can this be moved into healthcare and why should it be moved into healthcare. And I remember how I stumbled upon it was back in right around 2015 or 16. And I was putting together a leadership paper and developing a PowerPoint that I was going to use to speak upon. And I started Googling some information, and emotional intelligence came up. And so I started going through and digging into it. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. But it's really only been over the last decade that this has really become more prevalent in being looked at in especially nursing overall education, looking at it to promote like adaptive functioning and resilience in stressful situations. And one of the research reviews I did, there were around 57 reviews out there, or research or articles talking about this and the importance of bringing it into nursing education and what kind of difference could this really make. If you think about it, if it's about promoting adaptive functioning and resilience, and we think about what do we need our candidates who then become our students or our residents that are coming into our programs and wanting to be nurse anesthetists, isn't that what it's about? Adaptive functioning. How do you acclimate yourself into a very stressful environment? How do you become resilient? And that really, really resonated with me. So we started evaluating our interview process. And I talked with some other program directors out there, and they said, well, we've looked at it and we asked a couple questions, but one of the programs, that was all they did. Was they had 4 different rooms that candidates would move through that were all emotional intelligence based, with different scenarios, stressful type scenarios. And they wanted to see how they would react, how they handled themselves, and then how did they manage through those relationships. So I found that very interesting. So we started to integrate some of those questions, and I just started looking it up, started doing some research, and I've now taken through like Leadership Summit through the AANA. One of the focuses that year was emotional intelligence, and it Drew Bird. He was he was the main speaker, and he's got a great book out there, and I'll tell you those books at the end. But so I had this whole extensive testing done on myself because that was part of the conference, and he would do that. And it was incredible how it was broken down and what you could look at and what you could change, what you needed to work on, what you already did well. And when I think about looking back now at the literature, that's what everyone is trying to focus on. I really think personally, having talked with others out there, COVID made a big change in how we need to look at our candidates. Objective information is wonderful, but that's the other correlation with emotional intelligence. It has nothing to do with your IQ. And I think that people would look at, hey, we've got 4.0 students here. but yet they didn't have good emotional intelligence.
So I want to get into that. I got a question for you on that. I hate to interrupt you, but you really hit exactly where I was thinking about with that was the resilience piece. Obviously, COVID accelerated everything. But then we have a lot of people that are obviously, like you said, 4.0s, 3.96s, that's their overall GPA. That's their science GPA. They haven't struggled through anything in their academic career because they are very, very brilliant people. I really believe, I'm not sure I could get in if I had to apply these days with what I, had coming into it. So we have a lot of brilliant individuals, a lot of brilliant nurses. And how does that IQ, or does it even relate to EI? Because we think, okay, well, if they're very smart, they should be able to figure this out, right?
Right. But it's not. So I'm so glad you asked about it because it is one of the things I talk about. We're hardwired a certain way. And so our IQ has no correlation to our emotional intelligence. Our IQ is not flexible. It's really set. All right. And it's set for us at a very early age. And most of what I've learned and read about that is what my IQ was when I was 15 is the same as what my IQ, if I was tested, would be here at 51. Okay. But the beautiful thing about emotional intelligence is it's trainable. It's flexible. It's based off of core emotions like shame, fear, sadness, anger, and happiness. Those are really our core emotions that we deal with. And how in tune we are to those emotions are really how we adapt and train and adjust our EQ or our EI, our emotional intelligence.
All right. Well, that sums up today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you guys found that so valuable. And I look forward to, again, sharing some more golden nuggets with you guys in the future. Again, if you're a CSPA member, there will be an entire section inside the Academy that's labeled Nurse Anesthesia Educators Unplugged podcast. It will be inside the membership. So again, you log into your membership to have access to this. Again, you can play this on audio whenever you are driving or cooking or folding laundry, whatever fits your learning style. Again, we hope you guys find a lot of value in these episodes, and we're excited for future episodes to share with you. And until next time, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you. Please be sure to share that if CSPA podcast has been helpful for you in your CRNA journey, I would so very much appreciate it if you were able to share this valuable podcast with others that you know who are embarking on their CRNA journey. I call it paying it forward. So again, if this has been a valuable resource for you, a valuable tool on your own CRNA journey, I would so greatly appreciate it if you were able to share it with someone else down the road, even if you don't know anyone right now. Keep us in mind to make sure you send people our way, because again, we want to help you find success. We want to help your peers find success. So cheers to your future, and thank you so much. And until next time, take care. Hey, future CRNA, as always, I appreciate you and your loyalty. Thank you so very much for tuning in this week. I'd love to hear from you, so screenshot this episode and share it to your IG stories with your biggest takeaway. Don't forget to tag me at CRNA School Prep Academy so I can personally thank you. Be sure to head over to CRNASchoolPrepAcademy.com to check out our blog and gather free resources to help you along your CRNA journey. Stay strong, and I'll see you next week.